here, checking in for a live stream. It's been a while. As it stands right now, I'm just talking to 0 live viewers, so I'll just kill a bit of time before I start actually streaming. This is sort of impromptu, so doing it off the cuff, first live stream in a while. And some friends of mine, Mike and Jen, sent me this book, Confusion in the Cosmos, a few months ago. And I've been meaning to, and I've actually done a couple recordings trying to get it uploaded. And I think it's just so much easier to do it live, you know, because you don't have to record it and then edit it and then render it and then upload it. You just, and each one of those steps takes a lot of time. And so, especially for something that's already written, you know, most of my videos, I do write out a script first, but in the case of an audiobook, just doing it live, and again, I didn't write this, but I'm going to read it, probably not all at once, but at least in installments, because, and just as sort of a disclaimer, you know, the views and opinions expressed in this book do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of John the Morgile. Although I do agree with a lot of it, I'm just going to be, you know, reading it to you guys. And, you know, this is something I've been putting off for a while, but yesterday I was literally just sitting around contemplating suicide. And then I get the text from Jaren that Bob passed away. For those of y'all that haven't heard, yeah, Bob Nodal from the Globebusters is no longer with us. And, you know, he and I are definitely friends. We've been friends for years. And, you know, although we have had some differences of opinion and we did kind of have a falling out as well, I do feel bad that we never got a chance to patch things up. I hate to leave it like that with Bob, because I do consider him a friend. I always have. And some things were said. We got mad at each other, and it's been left at that for a few months. So anyway, by the way, my PayPal account is frozen as of just a few days ago. So don't send funds to my PayPal account for those of you out there that wanted to. It'll just bounce back. I do have Cash App at the Morgile, but no longer using PayPal. And that's where, and I use PayPal for all of my funds. And it's gone. Don't have access to it. I may be able to gain access to it in the future, but as it stands now, I'm locked out and I can't send, receive, or withdraw funds from my PayPal, which is it's devastating because, you know, I've been using that for years. And like, if you was to go down to the bottom here and purchase a sweatshirt or whatever from my YouTube channel, those funds are set to go into my PayPal account. So like anything that was coming in that I, you know, would have gotten to that account, I'm not going to get either. So, I mean, it's just going to take some reallocating of things, but it's a big pain in the ass. And I didn't see it coming. No warning. They won't give me a reason as to why they did it. But as of a few days ago, I can no longer use my PayPal account. Since last week, I don't know which day it was last week. All right, so anyway, the Confusion in the Cosmos, Decoding the Deception by Miguel Stephano. Dedication. This book is dedicated to every person that has been deceived regarding the entire cosmos since birth. Yes, it's true, we've all been punked. Now is the time to start waking each other up in order to see the reality of our cosmos as it was literally created, and to find out what the elites have been trying to hide by doing so. Sorry. So there's a table of contents. I won't read through that. Oh, and I guess I better show you a picture of the cover, huh? Is that backwards for you guys? All right, so introduction. Why is this worthy of consideration? In recent years, there has been a galactic reawakening in regards to what was once thought to be settled cosmology. Our belief of the universe has previously been shaped from images, movies, TV shows, and science. However, after researching this topic in great depth, many have made informed conclusions that their understanding of what they thought they knew to be right in regards to our cosmology has actually been completely wrong. This may seem outlandish and far fetched until you consider some of the statements made by our science representatives during this time and understand that there has been a quiet revolution within the scientific community where some are admitting that there is far more evidence for a geocentric Earth than for the heliocentric Earth that has been supported as the official theory. This was this was a bombshell in the scientific community, and a documentary regarding the geocentric Earth was made in 2014 entitled The Principle. Watch this documentary if you'd like to hear more on this debate, which outlines the origins of the Copernican heliocentric theory that is so condemning. Many now believe this to be a valid conspiracy, but know in advance that both the scientific community in general, as well as the actual cast, condemned this film in retrospect due to its backlash against the official theory and reversed previous statements to possibly save face, or to definitely to save face, right? Within this geocentric documentary, popular physicist Michio Kaku was quoted saying, "Usually in science, if we were off by a factor of 2 or a factor of 10, we would call that horrible. We say, something's wrong with the theory. We are off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120th. That's 1 with 120 zeros after it. This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science." Now, to say that a comment like this from a prominent physicist is an eye-opener would be an understatement, but also a very big clue. There is another documentary that spun off The Principle and actually uses some of its clips within the film, and is even more recommended if you were to only watch one. At this time, this is still available to watch on YouTube and is highly encouraged if you would like another perspective to understand what took place through history in shaping the theories that have been presented to us as fact. This documentary is called Scientism Exposed and can be found on the channel Celebrate Truth. Again, this is not a big budget film, but the documentary to watch if you were to only watch one. In addition, these documentaries and the new debate amongst scientists, some of the most famous science representatives who have the biggest microphone in the community, started saying other strange things that also got people's attention. The infamous Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is one of the most well-known astrophysicists in our day, has admitted in a presentation that when it comes to our understanding of the universe, that we're 96% stupid. In another interview, he was asked to explain and admitted that, quote, "We cannot explain gravity, we can only explain its effects on other things," end quote. In yet another interview, deGrasse explained that the Earth is not the round shape as people think, but actually an oblate spheroid, where it is actually wider below the equator than at the poles due to all the years of spinning, and as a result has become more pear-shaped or a little chubbier, right? Then our children's biggest influencer, Bill Nye, the science guy, was asked, and I'll attest to that. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I worship Bill Nye, the science guy, so that's definitely true. Bill Nye, the science guy, was asked in an interview about the likelihood of sending our garbage into space, and he replied by saying, thunder. He replied by saying, quote, "Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace, is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. There's no place to throw your trash, end quote. Even the star of Star Trek himself, William Shatner, during an interview with Astronomy magazine, admitted that there is no difference between science and science fiction, pointing out that both science and science fiction are the same thing. There were also several other instances where Shatner has tried to make this tantalizing point. These are only a few of these examples, and I hope you can see why this caused many to scratch their heads. Why we would get our facts on the universe from representatives who admittedly state that the science community is 96% stupid on the very topic of cosmology. And how can the Earth be pear-shaped when we've seen the images that prove it's a perfect ball from NASA? More on this later. Then a man by the name of Eric Dubay brought forth new and very thought-provoking material by reviving an old topic that is supposed to be off limits in our day and age by putting forth a book in 2015 titled 200 Proofs the Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. He presents strong arguments in this book, along with a series of videos comprised of what he calls proofs that there is no evidence of the Earth's curvature in existence anywhere, and that the Earth is actually flat, as it was understood by all ancient cultures. This was really the final piece that actually became the starting point for many curious people to have good reason to revisit what we were taught about our world and re-look at things again by reinvestigating the different points, arguments, and actual proofs of what we've been taught about our globe. There is much controversy involving this subject and can often very easily instigate some people by triggering their emotions. In the last few years, this author has had the opportunity of discussing the topic with several dozens of people of different faiths by asking questions for them to critically consider. Why do we believe in the heliocentric globe model that we do? Have we been standing in blind faith by just accepting this global worldview? Because you're probably already having your own thoughts on this matter, I want to be preemptive and summarize the majority of these exchanges so you can deal with this impartially and unbiasedly, if at all possible, in your own mind, as some of these thoughts may become your own. But this author believes that these rationales have been the psychological limiters that prevent people from critical thinking through this matter by ignoring new evidence or just dismissing its potentiality outright with little or no investigation to be considered at all. This author's been shocked at reactions of people by simply asking questions on cosmology, being responded to at times with anger from numerous different people that he must have triggered by asking them to think. On several occasions, when pointing out the sun and the moon in the same sky during midday, while the moon was waxing at not quite half phase, I asked people, why is the moon only partially lit? If the moon is allegedly being lit by the sun, which is in full view and close to it with nothing in between, and the moon is located at the 11 o'clock sky position with the sun located at the 2 o'clock position, why isn't the moon fully illuminated, and how can it only be lit less than 50%? As a follow-up question to that, why is the unlit portion of the moon in the same color as the sky behind it? The moon appears to be transparent. Do you think it looks like a dust-covered solid rock in space on which you could ever land? These conversations ended up infuriating some, while others just portray an impish grin while staring at me out of the corner of their eyes and having no answers. And reading between the lines with their grin, I believe they're thinking, what the hell is wrong with you? I think we learned this in grade school. There's a photo here. I don't know how well it'll come up. Let's see. Hang on. Let me try and... So, it's the moon during the day, I reckon. Learned about this in grade school, right? Okay. Most are simply unwilling to consider the possibility that we may have been purposefully presented a false reality by powerful people with much control and influence in order to shape our thinking, pun intended. They cannot envision that there could be such a large deception and willingly deny that there could be any spiritual powers at play. And if you are, I'm sorry, and if you are one who also thinks this way, this author has this verse for your consideration. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6:12. Many denounce this possibility of being unlikely or downright impossible because their pride tells them that they would have been perceptive enough to know if something that they were taught was false. They would have known it for sure, which ironically in itself reveals the pomposity of their own line of thinking. These are the people who will condescendingly reply to questions they cannot answer with things like, well, haven't you ever heard of gravity? Or you need to go back to the 5th grade science class, or haven't you seen the pictures of Earth from space? Others have written this off due to fear of not wanting to come to grips with the likelihood of having to change their comfortable worldview by facing the inevitable follow-up question. If the Earth isn't really round, then what is actually true? I mean, doesn't it seem like the only things we know for sure to be true in this life are we die, we will pay taxes, and we know that the Earth is a ball? The final group of people like to dismiss its significance altogether and make statements like, it doesn't matter to me what shape the Earth is, and it's not a salvational issue, or it doesn't affect my life in any way, so it's not important to me. Sarcastically, this author will point out that these are the people who seem to spend the most time talking about useless topics while checking their social media platforms for updates on what's happening in other people's lives in the last 30 seconds. 30 minutes, or reciting news involving the latest regarding their favorite celebrities or sports team. Obviously, these are exceptions. There are exceptions to these responses, but these are by far the most common. I think most people take for granted the fact that we are living in the information age and dismiss the opportunity to expand their knowledge base and challenge their thinking by learning about topics through independent journalists and independent researchers that are not being filtered by powerful organizations which seem to be producing approved narratives to dole out for the masses. Many of these independent researchers in recent years regarding prophecy, among other topics, have issued a plethora of breakthrough information that has brought to light countless things that have previously been hidden or completely misunderstood. A good example of this is how many of us have wondered and spent much time to connect the dots regarding the mysteries of ancient civilizations. Who built all the pyramids, ziggurats, dolmens, and other types of megalithic sites that are found all over the world? But somehow we never accounted for the certainty on how they were built, or who built them, or why. Can you tell me why there are almost 1,000 gigantic stone moai statues buried in mud, in some cases up to their chins on remote Easter Island? Why are there hundreds of enormous, perfectly round stone spheres scattered throughout Costa Rica? What about an explanation for Pumapunku in Tiwanaku, or Sexahioman and the Nazca lines in Peru? Have you seen Kailasa Temple in India? Sigiriya in Sri Lanka, Tiwanaku in Mexico, Yangchuan Quarry in China, or Angkor Wat in Cambodia? These are just a few, but there are probably thousands of examples of ancient structures scattered all over the world that you've never heard of before. All of these are shrouded in enigma and obscurity. And there's a couple of pictures too here. Let's see. I think you can see those. Sorry, it's kind of hard for me to do. Whoops. Okay. Oh wow, there's a bunch of pictures. What I'll probably do is just show these pictures up at the end. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. I mean, you can look up pictures yourself of Angkor Wat as well. I mean, you guys are online. Kailasa Temple is very amazing. Like, so I'll definitely show that one because that's one that I really am not too familiar with. It's like underground. Yeah, it's like dug in. Okay, so for ancient structures so intriguing and mysterious, why aren't they in textbooks, or why are they concealing the tunnel systems that are connected to these sites underground? The best theory coming from the science world today regarding their construction is that aliens from other planets were the only ones who had the technology and know-how to execute such intricate feats of engineering. These intelligent beings came to Earth with their alien technology and built these structures. It's hard to say if this one is worse than their previous theory that these places were carved by hunter-gatherers with access to only small copper tools. Petra in Jordan's another example, and then image below, Sigiriya in Sri Lanka, which I don't think I've ever seen that one before. Oh yeah, that's the one that's on top of like, so it's in the middle of a great plain, and there's this huge outcropping like a bluff, and there's all these megalithic structures on top of the bluff. It's pretty cool, right? But in recent years, the independent sources, sometimes considered as fringe, have come out with many new details regarding the giants of the Genesis 6 account. This is a highly misinterpreted and controversial story that needs to be understood. There was a fallen angel incursion that accomplished hybrid offspring with human women, thereby creating civilizations of giant hybrids that plague the earth by corrupting man, animals, and plant life. This violation of God's laws of creation was a provocation through their illicit acts, ultimately causing the reason for the great flood of Noah nearly 4,500 years ago. Most people have heard of this flood and dismiss it as myth, but even the people that believe it do not understand the whole reason for why it took place. This flood became necessary in order to save an uncorrupted remnant of mankind and ultimately to bring forth a Messiah from this bloodline of pure genetics. Since you may be unfamiliar with this fallen angelic incursion, here are some excerpts from the book of Genesis, as well as some ancient texts that we will discuss later. Let's read some of these excerpts from biblical chapter of Genesis first. Now it came about when men began to multiply on the face of the land, and the daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God, or angels, saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and that they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. Genesis 6, 1-2. The Nephilim, giants, were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God, or angels, came into the daughters of men, and they were bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Now the earth was corrupt in the sight of the Most High, and the earth was filled with violence. The Most High looked on the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Most High. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was just a man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with the Most High. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Then the Most High said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them, and behold, I'm about to destroy them with the earth. That was the shortened Genesis account. Are you familiar with this part of history? Let's look at another shortened account from the book of Jasher and see how it elaborates in further detail to better understand what took place and ultimately the reasons for the flood. And every man made unto himself a god with a small g, and they robbed and plundered every man his neighbor as well as his relative, and they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence, and their judges and rulers, angels, went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husbands, according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowl of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth of all men and all animals. And the Lord said, I will blot out man that I created from the face of the earth, yea, from man to the birds of the air, together with cattle and beasts that are in the field, for I repent that I made them. And all men who walked in the ways of the Lord died in those days, before the Lord brought evil upon man, which he had declared. For this was from the Lord, that they should not see the evil which the Lord spoke of concerning the sons of men. And Noah found the grace in the sight of the Most High, and the Most High chose him and his children to raise up seed from them from the face of the whole earth. And Noah was just a man. He was perfect in his generation, and the Most High chose him to raise up seed from his seed upon the face of the earth. And the Most High said to Noah, Take unto thee a wife and beget children, for I have seen thee righteous before me in this generation. And thou shalt raise up seed, and thy children with thee, in the midst of the earth. And Noah went back and took a wife, and he chose Naamah, the daughter of Enoch, and she was 580 years old. Jasher 5:13. And it was after this that the Most High said to Noah, The end of all flesh has come before me on account of their evil deeds, and behold, I will destroy the earth. And do thou take unto thee gopher wood, and go to a certain place, and make a large ark, and place it in that spot. And thus shalt you make it 300 cubits its length, 50 cubits broad, and 30 cubits high. So even though we're only looking at portions of the, end quote, right? Even though we're only looking at portions of the account in the book of Jasher, this corroborates the Genesis 6 story and gives some additional information that is imperative to understand the whole need for this flood in the first place. Let's now read from part of the story taken from the book of Jubilees. And it came to pass that when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of the Most High saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and that they took themselves wives of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways in their orders, and they began to devour each other. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of men was evil continually. And the Most High looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders. And all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth, which he had created. But Noah found grace before the eyes of the Lord. And against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth, and he gave commandment to root them out of all of their dominion. And he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them and are kept separate. Jubilees 5:1-6. So, end quote. We are seeing the same story here being confirmed by different historical authors, but each revealing unique components of what took place during this time in the antediluvian or pre-flood period. In the final review of this account, the book of Enoch provides much more detail in regards to this incursion, but like the others, we are just going to look at some of the excerpts thereof. And it came to pass, when the sons of men had increased, that in those days there were born to them fair and beautiful daughters. And the angels, the sons of heaven, saw them and desired them. And they said to one another, Come, let us choose for ourselves wives from the children of men, and let us beget for ourselves children. Enoch 6:1. Then they all swore together, and all bound one another with curses to it. And they were in all 200 They were in all 200, and they came down on Ardis, which is the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called the mountain Hermon because because on it they swore and bound one another with curses. Enoch 6:5 through 6:6. These are the leaders of the 200 angels and of all the others with them. And they took wives for themselves, and everyone chose for himself. And they began to go into them and were promiscuous with them. And they taught them charms and spells. And they showed them cutting of roots and trees. And they became pregnant and bore large giants. And their height was 3,000 cubits. These devoured all the toil of men until men were unable to sustain them. And the giants turned against them in order to devour men. And they began to sin against birds and against animals, against reptiles and against fish. And they devoured one another's flesh and drank the blood from it. Enoch 6:8 through 7:5. And there was a great impiety and much fornication, and they went astray, and all their ways became corrupt. And they went into the daughters of men together, lay with those women, became unclean, and revealed to them these sins. And the women bore giants, and thereby the whole earth has been filled with blood and iniquity. Enoch 9:8 through 9:9. We have left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and lain with women, and become unclean with the daughters of men, and taken wives for yourselves, and done as the sons of the earth, and begotten giant sons. Enoch 15:3. And then the Most High, the great and holy one, spoke and sent Ersailalior to the son of Lamech, or Noah, the son of Noah, and the son of Lamech, Noah, and said to him, say to him in my name, hide yourself, and reveal to him the end which is coming, because the whole earth will be destroyed. A deluge is about to come on earth, and all that is in it will be destroyed. Enoch 10:1 through 10:2. And now the giants who were born from the spirits and from the flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on the earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of the earth, which were born upon the earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants, afflicts, oppress, destroys, attacks, do battles, and work destruction upon the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. So, end quote. I don't know about you, but this wasn't the version that I heard in Sunday school regarding the reason for the flood. When reading these accounts, doesn't this make sense for why God had to destroy the corrupted human race, giants, hybrids, and all these kinds of contaminated animals? This story is consistent with explaining the gross depth of the corrupt hybridization by unending, salacious, and profane desires that antagonize the Creator to the point of clearing the entire slate for but a few. Only Noah, his sons and wives, and the pure blood, uncorrupted young animals were allowed to inhabit the ark and bring forth new seed to repopulate the earth. The reader needs to understand that there is additional biblical support other than the verses that this author laid out for you from Genesis 6. What this author wanted you to see is that this is a real component of earth and human archives combined from many different accounts that chronicled the ancient record for us to ascertain. In consideration of connecting the dots of history under the biblical paradigm, while finally understanding what we thought previously were broad gaps in our knowledge. These fill in and confirm what was in our Bible the whole time, but was either missed by ourselves or was taught incorrectly by others. If you are unfamiliar with this key aspect of history, you should ask yourself why you've never heard of this before when there are so many accounts of it through the many ancient texts and legends from history. Many people wrestle with the reason for the flood as well as the Old Testament stories of genocide and cannot give a good reason when asked why God commanded certain people and armies go kill every man, woman, and child of certain nations or tribes. In what seems to be every case, these were post-flood groups of different tribes of giant hybrids, which not only picked up the very best land to inhabit, but also threatened all of humanity itself if allowed to continue to multiply and persist. We can only postulate how they showed up a second time because we do not know exactly how these giants appeared after the flood. But legends of these giants from most cultures around the world have corroborated that these wicked beings were very evil and, among many other grotesque behaviors, would actually eat people. Now, in light of the mysterious ancient civilizations that we see regarding the pyramids, ziggurats, dolmens, and obelisks, temples carved out of the mountains, and all the other worldwide megalithic and monolithic anomalies, this fallen angel intelligence combined with Nephilim or giant size and strength starts revealing it was actually their, or possibly their technology that was responsible for these ancient abnormalities, therefore proving the biblical accounts to be true. One second. So hopefully you guys can hear okay. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. It's got a picture here of Al-Khazni, the treasury in Petra in Jordan. Pretty amazing. So you may be aware of the most well-known giants from the from the Bible being Goliath and King Og of Bashan, among others. But if you're unfamiliar with these giants of antiquity, just know that in addition to the Bible's account, there are numerous historical records through newspaper articles over the last 250 years documenting finds of enormous skeletons ranging from 8 feet to 36 feet in length. Many of these had red hair, double rows of teeth, 6 fingers and 6 toes. Some had elongated, voluminous skulls with completely abnormal cranial structures in comparison to human skulls. So going back to Deuteronomy, where, quote, where can we go up? Our brethren have made our hearts melt, saying, the people are bigger and taller than we. The cities are large and fortified to the heavens. And besides, we saw the sons of Anakim there. There was a war with Goth again, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number, and he also had been born to the giant. 2 Samuel. So they gave out to the sons of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone in spying out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. There also we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak are part of the Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. And so we were in their sight. Right. That was Numbers 13:32. This whole new understanding of this Genesis 6 revelation also reveals more answers to the commonly asked questions like, how did so much evil come into this world? What was the basis regarding all ancient mythologies and their false gods? Where did mythical creatures like dragons or dinosaurs or satyrs or centaurs, mermaids and fairies, among the others, derive?
Hey.
I'm recording. Yeah. How did demons come into existence, and from where did they come? Why do demons want to inhabit or possess people? Are aliens real? From where did they come? And where are they now? These have always been big questions for which parents, teachers, and even pastors don't have any good answers. But after a thorough study into the fallen angel and giants topic, This researcher is left with the overwhelming conclusion that there has been an enormous conspiracy to cover up these stories and erase their tracks from throughout history through shady archaeology and mandatory site takeovers by discreetly hiding or intentionally destroying all of their remains. This story shines a flashlight on the dark promoters of the evolution story and sends them scurrying because it totally debunks the whole theory of evolution into an obvious hoax. Meanwhile, these stories are ironically placed as myths to be hidden in plain sight within all superhero, demigod, vampire, and hybrid-based movies that we're being conditioned by and inundated with in so many recent Hollywood films. To quote one of the foremost researchers of today on this topic, quote, "The biggest cover-up in history is the cover-up of history itself." Steve Quayle. Could questions regarding the cosmos be solved scripturally in the same manner? If it did, would we believe God's word over men's? Let God the Most High be found true, though every man be found a liar. Romans 3:4. Understandably, regarding the shape of our habitation, not everyone has the time or willingness to research a topic in depth and so completely to make it through all the layers of deception to see through all the tricks. The downside of being in this information age is the tremendous amount of deceit and misinformation involved in deliberately hiding or shadow banning truthful sources from search results while craftily promoting the narratives that they want reinforced in order to continue protecting the lie. If you're a follower of Yeshua or Jesus, you should be familiar with his words when referencing the time at the end of the age when he warned us many times not to be deceived. These statements imply that the end of the age would be based in deception to the point it would trick even his own followers. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived, 2 Timothy. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. Hold on a second. Mina. Oh, goodness, my wife just
Oh, it's okay. I took over the wire.
You all right?
Yeah, it was these wires. I'm cool.
She's not doing too well, you guys.
Hey,
Are you all right?
I saw these wires over here.
Sit down before you fall down.
I'm
oh
good,
my God.
John.
Are you okay?
Yeah. She saw these wires. They're clumped up everywhere.
Did y'all hear that?
Look at all these wires.
Oh my God.
I'm scared I'm going to step on the wrong thing and break it.
I don't know what. Okay.
Let me wrap it up.
And the light of the candle shall shine no more in thee. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Matthew 24. Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, it scared me. You'll be all right.
Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. You therefore, beloved, knowing this beforehand, be on your guard, so that you are not carried away by the error of unprincipled men and fall from your own steadfastness. 2 Peter. End quote. So all of the nations were deceived by their sorceries. Is there much more going on behind the curtain today than what we were previously aware of and not seeing? Is it possible that we have taken for granted or never even considered the amount of control being wielded by the world's wealthiest elites, their control of our banking system, and the fact that they may have been pulling the strings of our elected officials long before we were even birthed into existence? Perhaps these are the same people that now own and control the mainstream media and news outlets around the world. And the same people who are in control at the top level of the curriculums of our educational system. Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws. Quote by Mayor Rothschild. Quote, if the people only understand the rank injustice in our money and banking system, there would be a revolution before morning. Andrew Jackson. If you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. It really is public brainwashing and misinformation. Robert Kane Pappas. And speaking of deception at the end of the age, this should also be weighed when considering if seeking truth should be important to you or not. This is from 2 Thessalonians. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they shall all might be damned, who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So with the amount of deception and ensnarement available to us on our screens and at our fingertips, what better place to start seeking truth than where the Word of God is outlined, and lean on the Bible as our filter to sift through this cosmological concept. Do not read this, however, if you would like to keep your present worldview intact and unaffected while keeping your eyes closed on this vitally important issue. If that is you, I recommend giving this book to somebody more open-minded, throwing it away, or at least starting a fire with it on a cold evening prior to going back to your slumber. Don't burn this book, however, if you'd like to learn the truth, appreciate a contrarian perspective, or cherish deep thought. This author may use a little sarcasm here and there, but he will also cite as much scripture throughout, while asking you, the reader, very often to think critically. The Bible translations this author will be pulling from will be from either KJV or NASB for consistency, while also avoiding translational cherry picking. It is my intention with this study to at times lay out scripture in blocks or groupings in order for you to see the picture as a whole, somewhat unencumbered, while letting their true meaning be revealed by its repetitious use and letting the passages interpret themselves to the reader. We are also going to rebuild the universe throughout this read according to the descriptions given as it was created, and have some illustrations to ponder. There are many rattlesnakes in the informational playground in this day and age, and there are far too many people being led astray by sources believed to be credible on this topic. This author has written this book in contrast because everyone deserves to hear the real truth. Now, whether they can discern it or believe it is an entirely different issue, but what I'm going to share with you has changed my life, and I cannot sit idly any longer by and watching this deception continue to mislead so many people. This is not just for cosmology junkies by any means, but for everyone with eyes to see and ears to hear. In fact, we will not be limited exclusively to cosmology, and will branch outside of this here and there as we work. Hold on. Mina!
What?
Stop.
I'm not doing nothing.
Can you go in there, please?
Yeah, fine.
She takes this medication that just makes her loopy.
Irritable.
I'm so worried about her. She don't want to listen to me.
Jonathan, would you stop airing out my business stuff? I've already.
This book is designed in order that each chapter will build upon the last, and certain pieces will be revealed in a way that should all come together by its ending. It is this author's belief that if you read this book fully, in this order, and to its end, you will be blessed in many ways that you cannot even imagine at this point. Until now, this book has not been written, as he's writing this introduction, which is why this author was chosen to write this somewhat abridged yet long overdue polemic primer. Let's dig into confusion in the cosmos and review some of the things that your pastor won't talk about, but have clearly been written in black and white the whole time. Suggestion: it's crucial that in order to get the most understanding from this study, that the reader puts to the side their current belief of cosmology as they know it, And pray for discernment while asking that the Most High will reveal his truth to you. This cannot be emphasized enough and must be regarded as essential. If you take your time with this and pray through it for wisdom, it is this author's belief and my belief as well, that by the time you finish this book, you will not only be given new eyes to see the world, but also new eyes to read the scriptures with, an increased understanding and elevated discernment. That he answers a matter before he that answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame unto him. Proverbs 18:13, King James Version. So that's the end of the introduction. And it's a 50-minute stream, so that's pretty good. What I'll probably do is one chapter at a time, and I gotta take care of Mina over here. As I said at the beginning of this, you guys, I just found out a few days ago, last week, my PayPal account's frozen. I may be able to get it back, but it's looking like I'm just gonna have to wait on them to send me a check for what I had in there, because I can't get in my account. Can't receive money through there, can't do anything with it. It's frozen for no apparent reason. So I don't know if you want to help. If you want to help out, Cash App at the Morgue Aisle. Wow. Let me end this here. Dogs are barking over there anyway, and I'll do chapter 1 here later on today, probably pretty soon. So thanks for watching, you guys. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye.
Hey.
Hold on.